One day, age does something strange to you. It does not always arrive like thunder. Sometimes it arrives in silence, in the empty chair across the table, in the phone that does not ring as often, in the clothes you no longer wear because the places that needed that version of you are gone. And then, without anyone saying it out loud, a hard question enters the room. What in this life is actually mine? Not my name, because others gave me that. Not my job, because one day it ended and the world kept moving. Not even my family in the way I once imagined, because the people we love are not possessions. They come through our lives, they shape us, they leave marks on our hearts, but they are not ours to keep. Children grow, partners change, friends disappear. Even the body begins to negotiate with time. This is the moment many people fear. Not because old age is ugly, but because it removes the illusions that kept us busy. When you are young, you can hide inside motion. There are bills to pay, goals to chase, people to raise, plans to make. But later, when the dust begins to settle, life asks for honesty. It asks you to look at what remains when the noise is gone. And Buddhism has never been afraid of that question. It does not flatter you. It does not tell you sweet lies. It does not promise that if you were good enough, careful enough, loving enough, then loss would skip your house. It says something simpler and far more powerful. Everything that can change will change. Everything you try to hold will one day loosen in your hands. Every role, every title, every possession, every body, every season. This is not punishment. This is not a mistake in the design. This is the design. The pain begins when we spend half our life treating temporary things like permanent ones. A man retires after 40 years of work and suddenly feels invisible. A mother spends decades being needed and then feels forgotten when her children stop calling every day. A widow reaches for the side of the bed and touches only cold sheets. An old father walks through a house full of family photos and feels like a guest inside his own memories. These moments are not rare. They are ordinary. And because they are ordinary, they deserve truth, not denial. The truth is that old age is not only the decline of strength. It is the exposure of reality. It shows you what can stay and what cannot. It reveals what was borrowed and what was built within. And if you listen carefully, it also reveals that after all the losses, after all the partings, after all the names and roles and plans begin to fade, there are still a few things no one can take from you. Not many, but enough. Only 3. The first is your mind as you train it to meet life. Not the busy surface of the mind. Not the endless chatter, the replaying of old conversations, the complaints, the fears, the comparisons, the stories that wake up before you do. I mean the quality of the mind you have shaped over the years, whether it has become bitter or gentle, tight or spacious, restless or steady, whether it knows how to sit with life or only how to fight it. This matters more in old age than people realize. When the world stops distracting you, you are left with the company of your own mind. And if you have spent your whole life decorating the outside while neglecting the inside, the later years can feel unbearable. A beautiful house cannot comfort a mind that has never learned peace. A large family cannot save a person whose thoughts have become a prison. Money can pay for treatment, but it cannot buy inner stillness. Respect from others cannot quiet the storm within. This is why the Buddha placed such enormous weight on the mind. Because long before your possessions leave you, the mind interprets everything. It colors every morning. It decides whether a quiet room feels like peace or abandonment. It decides whether a slow body feels humiliating or simply human. It decides whether change is an insult or a law of nature. 2 people can live through the same old age and inhabit completely different worlds. One becomes resentful, counting every absence, every ache, every small disrespect, every proof that life is unfair. The other becomes softer, wiser, less hungry for control, almost luminous in the way they accept what comes. Same age, same losses, same fragility, different mind. That difference is not luck. It is cultivation. There was an elderly teacher once who was asked what frightened him most about aging. People expected him to say illness, or loneliness, or death. But he said, to grow old with an undisciplined mind. That answer stayed with me, because it is possible to lose strength and still have dignity. It is possible to lose memory and still radiate kindness. But to grow old in the grip of anger, fear, and constant inner resistance, that is a harder kind of suffering. So if you ask what truly belongs to you, begin here. The state of your mind, the habits of attention you have practiced, the way you speak to yourself when no one is listening, the ability to return again and again from panic to presence. That work is yours. No child can do it for you. No doctor can prescribe it into being. No inheritance can replace it. And the beautiful thing is this: it is never too late to begin. Even now, if your life is already in its late afternoon, you can still train the mind. You can sit quietly for a few minutes and watch your thoughts instead of obeying them. You can notice how often the mind creates extra pain by arguing with what already is. You can stop feeding certain fires. You can become less interested in being right and more interested in being free. You can learn, even now, that peace is not the reward for controlling life. Peace comes when you stop demanding that life obey your preferences. That inner shift may not look dramatic from the outside. No one may applaud it. But it is one of the greatest achievements of a human life. Because when the body weakens and the social world shrinks, the trained mind becomes shelter. The second thing that truly belongs to you is the way you choose to stand inside your suffering. This is where many people misunderstand spiritual teaching. They think it means pretending pain is not real. It does not mean that. Buddhism is not interested in fantasy. Knees hurt. Sleep becomes lighter. Friends die. Regrets return at night. Some mornings the body feels like a house with too many broken windows. Some evenings loneliness sits beside you so closely that you can almost hear it breathe. No wise teaching asks you to deny any of that. But there is a difference between pain and captivity. Pain may visit you. Captivity begins when pain becomes your identity. A woman in her late 70s once said, "My body is not what it used to be, and that is sad. But what exhausts me most is the sentence I keep repeating. This should not be happening." That sentence was hurting her more than her joints. Because life was moving in one direction and her mind was pulling in another. The friction between reality and resistance was tearing her apart. That is where freedom becomes possible. Not freedom from aging, not freedom from grief, not freedom from illness, freedom in the middle of them. The Buddha taught that much of human suffering grows from clinging. We cling to youth, to certainty, to the idea that our loved ones should behave according to our needs, to the belief that our worth depends on usefulness, beauty, income, or recognition. And when life removes those supports, we panic. We think life has stolen us from ourselves. But often, what is being removed was never truly self in the first place. It was a costume, a function, a temporary arrangement. The deeper self is revealed in how you meet the unraveling. Imagine two older men both receiving the same diagnosis. One spends his days asking, "Why me? Why now? This ruined everything." The other grieves too, but after the first shock he says, "This is what is here. Let me meet it clearly." Neither man chose the diagnosis, but each man chooses the posture of his heart. One hardens into battle against reality. The other turns toward truth and gains a kind of peace even in difficulty. That posture is yours. It is one of the last real freedoms you have. You may not control who visits. You may not control the market, the weather, the government, the body, or the timing of death. But you still participate in the meaning of this moment. You still decide whether bitterness will become your final language. You still decide whether suffering will close your heart or deepen it. You still decide whether pain will make you cruel, self-pitying, awake, humble, or compassionate. No one can make that choice on your behalf. There is great dignity in remembering this. because old age can make a person feel reduced. People talk over you. They assume you are fragile, outdated, slow, finished. Sometimes they stop seeing the full human being and see only age. But inwardly, your freedom remains immense. Not the freedom to escape reality, but the freedom to respond to it. And that freedom is not small, it is sacred. The next time pain rises, or loneliness arrives, or disappointment settles on your chest, try not to ask first, "How do I get rid of this?" Ask, "How do I meet this without becoming smaller?" That question changes everything. It turns suffering into practice. It turns old age from a punishment into a final school of wisdom. And if you keep asking that question sincerely, something remarkable happens. You become less afraid of what life brings. Not because life becomes easy, but because you trust your capacity to face it. You stop measuring your value by comfort. You stop bargaining with impermanence. You become steadier, cleaner inside, more real. This is not passivity. This is mastery. The third thing that truly belongs to you is the goodness you have planted in your being, not your reputation. Reputation lives in the mouths of other people, and other people forget. Not your image. Not the stories told about you at your funeral. Not the property with your signature on it. I mean the real moral weight of your life. The kindness you repeated until it became character. The patience you practiced when anger would have been easier. The compassion you gave when no one was watching. The honesty you chose when lying would have been convenient. The forgiveness you offered even while your ego begged you not to. That stays with you in a way money never can. Buddhism speaks often about action and consequence, about the traces our intentions leave in consciousness. Every thought you feed, every reaction you rehearse, every generous or selfish choice shapes the person you become. This shaping is slow, quiet, invisible at first, but over many years it becomes destiny of character. You can see it clearly in older people. Some have faces that still carry old fights, old grudges, old envy. Even when they smile, something in them remains clenched. Others, even after hard lives, feel open, warm, easy to trust. Their kindness seems to arrive before their words do. You feel better simply sitting near them. That did not happen by accident. That is the harvest of many inner choices. A woman in a care home had begun forgetting dates, names, and even parts of her own story. But every morning when the staff brought breakfast, she thanked them as if they were honored guests in her house. Some days she did not remember where she was. Yet courtesy still rose from her naturally. Tenderness still lived in her hands. That is how deep true goodness can go. Deeper than memory, deeper than status, deeper than the mind's sharpness. When practiced long enough, it becomes the fragrance of the soul. This is why your good heart matters more than your achievements. When you are old, people do not mainly remember how efficient you were. They remember how you made them feel. Did your presence make others tense, guilty, and small? Or did it make them breathe easier? Did your children feel controlled by you or safe with you? Did your neighbors feel judged or seen? Did strangers receive warmth from you or only your impatience? These are not sentimental questions. They are the true accounting of a life. And here is the part many people miss. You are still writing that account right now. As long as you are breathing, your character is still ripening. Old age is not the waiting room before the end. It is one of the most powerful periods for purification, because by then, illusions are easier to spot. You have seen what ambition can and cannot do. You have seen how fast decades disappear. You have outlived some of your own certainties. If wisdom is going to mature anywhere, it should mature here. So perhaps the deepest use of later life is not clinging to what is leaving, but refining what remains. A softer voice, a slower reaction, a more forgiving heart, fewer complaints, more gratitude, more sincere listening, more blessing, less bitterness, more truth, less performance. This is sacred work, hidden work, and unlike possessions, It cannot be stolen, divided, or signed away. Your family may inherit your furniture. They may argue over your jewelry. They may donate your books, sell your car, forget half the stories you once told at the dinner table. One day, even the photographs may end up in a box that no one opens. This is not tragic. It is simply how the world moves. Material things continue their journey. Roles dissolve, names fade. But the mind you shaped, the way you learned to meet pain, and the goodness you embodied, those are the three treasures that stay truly yours. And strangely, when you finally understand this, love becomes cleaner. Because then you stop demanding that your family prove your worth. You stop turning their absence into evidence that your life meant less. You stop using guilt as a rope to pull people closer. You stop asking your children to cure the loneliness that only inner awakening can touch. You still love them, maybe even more than before, but your love becomes lighter. It breathes. It blesses. It does not clutch. This changes everything. An older person who has discovered these three treasures becomes a different kind of presence in the family. Not an old wound everyone tiptoes around. Not a hungry center demanding emotional payment. But a calm fire, a resting place, a source of proportion. Their children leave feeling steadier. Their grandchildren remember their eyes. Their home, even if small, feels like a place where the soul is not rushed. That is a real legacy. Not control, not ownership, not a perfect family image. Inner depth. So if tonight you find yourself sitting in a quiet room and the question returns, what is actually mine after all these years? Do not answer too quickly. Not the house, not the title, not the applause, not the body as it once was, not even the people you love, beautiful as that love may be. What is yours is the mind you have cultivated. What is yours is the way you meet what life brings. What is yours is the goodness you have woven into your being. If you still have time, protect these. If you still have breath, deepen these. If you still have tomorrow, practice these. Sit a little more quietly. Complain a little less. Notice the stories that poison your peace and stop feeding them. Bless someone who does not deserve it. Thank someone who expects nothing. Release one old resentment. Meet one pain without making it your whole identity. Spend a few moments each day simply being present enough to feel that you are still here, still alive, still capable of wisdom. This is how a person grows old without becoming empty. And maybe that is the hidden gift of aging. It strips away what never could have been kept, so you can finally devote yourself to what was always worth keeping. Not the outer decorations of life, but the inner gold. Not the borrowed forms, but the truth underneath them. Not the crowd around you, but the clarity within you. In the end, life does not ask how much you owned. It asks what you became. So become peaceful. Become honest. Become spacious enough to let life move through you without breaking your spirit. Become kind enough that even your silence comforts others. Become free enough that when things leave, you do not leave yourself. Then old age is no longer only decline. It becomes completion. And when the final evening comes, as it comes for all of us, you may not be able to carry your name very far. You may not carry your status, your possessions, or the roles that once defined you. But if you have guarded these three treasures well, you will not be poor. You will arrive at that final threshold with something real in your hands. A clear mind, a courageous heart, a life that has become gentle from the inside out. And that, more than anything the world can give or take, is truly yours.